In 1590, a thick mist spread along the coast of Roanoke Island, in what is now North Carolina, enveloping the dense vegetation that muffled sounds, leaving only the echo of waves in the distance. More than 4 centuries later, in 2024, Aunt Harwood, a young archaeologist fascinated by historical mysteries, dedicated her life to uncovering the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. Since childhood, Anne had nurtured an obsession with unsolved enigmas, believing they concealed something greater, an inexplicable pattern in American history, and was part of an expedition organized by the Enigma Foundation, which funded excavations at what was believed to be the original site of the colony. One afternoon during work, she found a peculiar medallion engraved with the word Croton, an object that stirred more than scientific curiosity, a visceral call that seemed to transcend archaeology. That same night, while analyzing the medallion, footsteps echoed through the empty camp. Following the sound, Anne encountered a hooded figure who whispered, "They were never gone. You must look in the right place." Before she could react, the figure disappeared, leaving behind a burned map marked with unknown locations. The discovery of the map and the medallion thrust Anne into a journey that soon unveiled a web of secrets far beyond a mere historical disappearance. At every step, invisible forces guided her while simultaneously attempting to silence her. The markings on the map pointed to nearby islands, including the enigmatic Croton Island, central to local folklore. However, upon sharing her findings and faced resistance from her team, particularly Robert Miles, one of the expedition's financiers, who had personal reasons to prevent her from continuing. Robert confronted and, claiming that the colony's mystery was imbued with a curse, a danger beyond comprehension. Ignoring his warnings, Anne sought help from Elijah Warren, a historian reluctant to acknowledge potential supernatural connections, and Sarah Monroe, an expedition photographer who became her ally. Sarah possessed an old journal, allegedly written by one of the colonists, which described terrifying events leading up to the colony's departure. Inhuman sounds in the forest, shadowy figures lurking in the darkness, and a desperate attempt to seek refuge with the Croatan tribe. The journal ended abruptly with the phrase, "There is no escape. He is here." Determined to see it through, and convinced Sarah to accompany her to Croton Island, despite Robert's efforts to stop them. During the boat crossing, strange phenomena began to occur. Electronic devices failed, a thick fog enveloped their path, and heard voices calling her name. Upon landing, they discovered inexplicably preserved colonial artifacts, including a mirror that projected harrowing visions, colonists fleeing in panic as if pursued by something unseen. The words Croton was etched into a stone, and when Anne touched it, she was consumed by visions of a hooded man watching the colonists. Back on the boat, Anne discovered the medallion had vanished, stolen by Robert, who admitted to having familial ties to the disappearance of Roanoke. Robert revealed that his lineage traced back to the rescue expedition of 1590 and that he feared the dangers of uncovering the mystery. Despite his warnings, Anne and Sarah pressed on, following new clues that led them to a cave on a nearby cliff. Inside the cave, symbols carved into the walls and a ritualistic altar suggested a site of supernatural significance. A larger mirror, similar to the one they had found earlier, pulsed with strange energy. When Anne touched it, She saw the colony's final days. Unexplainable phenomena forced the colonists to seek help from the Croatan tribe, but desperation drove them to perform a ritual that awakened an ancient entity, which consumed the colony and erased it from physical existence. In the vision, the hooded man turned directly to and said, "You shouldn't be here," and awoke from the vision haunted by the entity that pursued them. As they attempted to leave the cave, they found the entrance blocked, forcing them to navigate a subterranean labyrinth to a lake inscribed with markings. As and read the inscriptions, a guttural voice echoed, and the floating mirror once again revealed the hooded figure, who declared, "The past demands a sacrifice to remain hidden." Sarah was nearly dragged into the water by an invisible force, and managed to save her. Upon exiting the cave, they found a message from Elijah, who had disappeared. The truth lies where the past and present collide, and realized she had to destroy the medallion, the only physical link to the entity. Returning to Croton Island, she destroyed it at an altar, triggering an explosion of energy that dissipated the symbols and weakened the supernatural presence. However, the entity persisted as a latent force, fueled by fear and mystery. Leaving the island, and Sarah reflected on the risks of seeking answers to certain mysteries, and wrote an academic article omitting the supernatural elements, while Sarah published a photo book celebrating the colony's history without revealing its secrets. Both found a balance between honoring the past and preserving its integrity. At peace at last, Anne returned to her hometown, keeping to herself the lesson she had learned. Not all mysteries need to be solved. The world is larger and stranger than we can comprehend, and sometimes accepting the unknown is the most powerful way to grow. On the shore of Croton, the fog continued to linger over a stone, where the word Croton remained etched. 1 year later, Anne now leads a quiet life in her hometown, far from the excavations and mysteries that once consumed her. She teaches history at a local university, sharing her passion for the past with her students. Sarah occasionally visits, bringing updates on her photographic adventures, but they both avoid talking about Roanoke. In one of her lectures, Anne discusses the significance of historical mysteries. And some stories are like echoes in time, asking to be heard but not necessarily solved. They remind us there's more to the world than we can understand. As she speaks, she notices a student in the back row taking fervent notes. After class, he approaches her, holding an old notebook filled with maps and strange symbols. Student, Professor Harwood, I found this book in my family's library. I think it might have something to do with Roanoke. Can you help me understand it? And hesitates briefly, a flicker of curiosity crossing her mind. But she smiles softly and replies, "And follow your curiosity, but remember, sometimes the true value of a mystery lies in the journey, not the answer." She hands the notebook back, leaving him to forge his own path. Sarah continues traveling the world, documenting historical sites with her camera. She often encounters strange and unexplainable stories, but now approaches them with more respect and less inclination to investigate. On an expedition in Scotland, she finds a stone circle resembling the one on Croton Island. Intrigued, she takes photographs but decides not to delve further. When sending the images to Anne, she includes a playful message. "Sarah, this time, I promise not to touch anything, and laughs as she opens the email, fondly remembering their shared experiences. Robert Miles vanished a few months after the expedition. His final communication, too, and was a handwritten letter that read, "What was hidden always returns," and keeps the letter among her memorabilia, but chooses not to pursue its meaning. She knows Robert remains haunted by what he witnessed, but that is no longer a burden she needs to bear.